Most people think the most dangerous thing about working the night shift is exhaustion. The boredom. The silence. The long hours where nothing happens. But the truth is, the night shift doesn't become terrifying when something happens. It becomes terrifying when someone is there who should not be. Before we get into this story, if you're someone who enjoys real-life experiences that are more unsettling than any horror movie, make sure you subscribe to the Grim Tapes. This channel is dedicated to true stories that prove real life is often far more disturbing than fiction. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear is not a single nightmare, but a pattern. A pattern of people being watched while they believed they were alone. The first story begins inside a small hotel. Nothing fancy. 3 floors. Around 40 rooms. The kind of place that barely feels alive after midnight. The person working the front desk that night had done this shift countless times before. Overnight hours. Locked doors. Security cameras. A routine so predictable that it almost became comforting. Most nights, only a handful of rooms were occupied. Guests slept. The lobby stayed quiet. The world outside disappeared. That night started exactly the same. Around late evening, a man buzzed the front door. He looked normal enough. Mid-40s. Tall. Thin but not frail. Jeans. Baseball cap. A backpack slung over his shoulder. He asked for a room like hundreds of people before him. The transaction seemed normal. Card swiped. Approval beep. A key card handed over. Room on the second floor. But something lingered. When the employee handed him the key, the man didn't leave right away. He looked at her. Not aggressively. Not smiling. Just blank. His eyes stayed locked on her for several seconds too long, as if he were memorizing something. It wasn't enough to cause alarm. It was enough to be remembered. Hours passed quietly. Then, without warning, the man returned to the lobby. He didn't approach the desk. He didn't ask for anything. He walked past and sat on one of the couches facing a television that wasn't even turned on. At first, it seemed harmless. Guests sometimes couldn't sleep. But as time dragged on, something became unsettling. He wasn't on his phone. He wasn't reading. He wasn't resting. He was just sitting there, staring forward, motionless. When the employee crossed the lobby to grab water, she felt it instantly. That unmistakable sensation of being watched. He turned his head slowly and followed her with his eyes the entire way, never breaking focus until she was back behind the desk. That was the moment unease set in. Later, while checking the system out of boredom, something didn't make sense. The room the man was assigned showed vacant. No check-in. No record. No payment. No entry log. It was as if the man never existed. But he was still sitting there. When she checked the key card logs, the door had never been opened. He had never gone to the room. He had never even tried. He had been inside the building the entire time. 4 hours. Moving. Watching. Waiting. He wandered the hallways. Stood in dark corners. Paused near bathrooms. Appeared and disappeared from view. Every time she looked up, he was somewhere else. Always quiet. Always staring. At one point, he stood near the hallway, half hidden in shadow, completely still. That was when fear replaced confusion. When police were finally called and arrived, the truth made everything worse. The credit card was stolen. There was no reservation. He had brought no luggage. No belongings. His only goal had been access. Access to the building. Access to people. Access to time. The second story takes us somewhere even more isolated. A small gas station off a quiet road. The kind of place people barely notice unless they have to stop. Meredith worked there alone during overnight hours. She liked the predictability. Until predictability turned into routine. And routine turned into observation. A man began appearing. Not every night. Just often enough. Sometimes he came inside. Sometimes he sat in his car at the edge of the lot with the lights off. He noticed things most people wouldn't. Her schedule. Her handwriting. Her habits. He knew her name. Not because she told him. Because he had been watching. He commented on details that no stranger should notice. The way she dotted her letters. The way she locked the back room. The time she checked doors. Then came the photograph. A Polaroid left on the counter. Taken from close range. Capturing her during a moment she never knew was being observed. Circled details in red ink. When police searched his car, they found pages of notes. Dates. Times. Clothing. Movements. Her name written over and over until it stopped looking like language. He called it curiosity. The third story comes from another overnight gas station. Another woman working alone. This time, the danger never showed its face. It stayed in the parking lot. Brand new cars with no license plates. Engines running. Lights off. Parked where the employee couldn't see them. Watching. Leaving when confronted. Returning when the lot emptied. One car became two. Strangers warned her. Co-workers warned her. Customers offered to stay. Everyone noticed the same thing. Something was waiting. The final story takes place at a rural motel. Family-owned. Quiet. Empty. A front desk bell rang. No one was there. It rang again. Still nothing. When it rang a third time, the employee stayed behind the desk to catch whoever was playing games. That was when a pale hand rose slowly from beneath the counter and pressed the bell directly in front of him. Someone had been hiding under the desk. Watching. Waiting. The security cameras showed just enough. Eyes. Movement. A figure pacing the lobby. A door handle rattling once. Slowly. Deliberately. The man escaped before police arrived. He was never found. All of these people survived. But survival doesn't mean safety. Because the most disturbing part isn't what happened. It's what didn't. No one knows what these individuals planned to do if circumstances had shifted slightly. If a door stayed unlocked. If someone was more tired. If help arrived later. And that brings us to the question I want you to think about. If you were working alone tonight and someone stayed longer than they should, watched more than they should, noticed more than they should, would you trust your instincts in time? Or would you convince yourself everything was fine until it wasn't? If stories like this stay with you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the Grim Tapes, and share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. Because the night doesn't announce danger. It waits. And someone is always paying attention.